So we'll get started. All right, Bud, you fully on yet?
I'm here, Jeff.
All right, sir. All right, well, I think we've got a quorum. So the first thing on the agenda,
Jeff, I got to do roll call.
Okay, yep, thank you. Go ahead.
Yep. President Bud.
Yes.
Member Baker.
Here.
Member Norman.
Here.
Member Butler.
Here.
Member Kraminski.
Here.
And I just got to make sure that everyone's in the county of Branch. New rule here. Is everybody in the county of Branch today?
Yep.
I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am.
We're all here. I know Don's listening, so I better say hello to Don too. Hey, Don. Is there any public comments at this time? Don, being our only public, you have any comments, Don? You might just be recording it.
No
so.
comment, no comment. No, I am paying attention. I'm tired of courts today.
All right, Don. Well, thanks. Okay. So with that, we'll go into our consent agenda. The first item is minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors. They've been posted. Does anybody have a chance to look at them, or does anybody have any corrections or comments?
No
Okay.
questions or comments here.
All right. As well, we also have the financial statements. If there's no comments on that, we will go directly into take a motion for the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion? Motion by Key, second by Kraminski. All in favor, say aye.
Now I got to take a roll call.
Oh,
Got it. Sorry.
roll
Got to take a
call.
roll call. Member Baker.
Yes.
Member Norman.
Yes.
Member Butler.
Yes.
Member Kraminski.
Yes.
And President Bud.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next order of business is, I believe we're going to turn this over, make this the Lisa show. Finding my agenda again, there it is. So the annual, first of all, any old business, go right by the agenda. Hearing none, we'll move into new business. Lisa Miller, go ahead, take it away.
All right, let's see. Is somebody going to put the presentation up, or do I need to share my screen?
I was never given a presentation, so screen sharing is enabled now. So if you have it, you can do it, or you can ship it to me. I can put it up.
Well, let's see if I can get it up here. Right. So I have it on the front.
I got it up and running.
Oh, wow, you're fast.
Okay.
And
Just
kind
tell
of a
me
show
when,
off.
just tell me when to move forward.
All right, let me get on here.
Hey, Jeff, you've got that with your email on the side. It's got the Zoom meeting. If you're trying to get a Zoom bomb, that's a pretty good way of doing it.
Okay.
Take it from me, you don't want that to happen.
There we go.
All
Problem
right.
solved. Thank you, Pat.
Jeff, are you going to run this for me?
Yep.
All right, thank you. So, yep, next, this annual report that we put together. We've had a couple of different variations. One that we reported to the council, and we wanted to get this updated with the Growth Alliance. Really, we want to talk about first is COVID-19 and the pandemic and the impact over the course of the last, next month, it'll be a year. We really, staff really needed to pivot, and our major time and really focus was on trying to help as many businesses as we could throughout the county to navigate the pandemic resources. There were a lot. They came fast and furious. They ranged from the payroll protection program, down to retooling opportunities. We had all kinds of state meetings and federal meetings with our local and state representatives and national representatives, and really had a lot of people online from our companies on what they were needing. The first payroll protection program really rolled out a little bit slower from our knowledge, really understanding it and our knowledge of it. Towards the end, we really understood how that could be also for a sole proprietor. Let's say if they had to lay off all of their employees. So we are very well prepared for the second round of PPP that just came out and is available for people to apply for. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the different resources that are available at the end of the presentation. Any questions on this slide? All right, next, please. So these were some of the local programs that we put together. The $10,000 was from the Downtown Development Authority rebate if they people were just in the Central Business District. The DDA put up funding to be able to rebate people for masks and gloves and air purifiers, plastic shields. There was a component that if you bought it within Branch County, you get 75% off, or excuse me, 75% rebated, and then 50% if you had to buy something that was outside of Branch County. GW Allen, GW Display really was converted from a lot of their production to be able to help local people with that. And then we as the Growth Alliance went ahead and did the same type of program, but it was throughout the entire county. And to date, we've distributed about $11,690. And we did just talk about that again today on the radio. So we're hoping to get a few more people interested in trying to get some reimbursement. That was reimbursement only from March of last year, not starting before. So we'll have to look at those guidelines as we move forward. The small business relief grants, that was $135,000 and another $35,000 from the Match on Main that went to private businesses from grants that came in. We were working very closely with the MEDC and with Southwest Michigan First in order to help people apply and then let them know that they had received the funding and be able to get the funding out to them. And we also had a $40,000 grant that we were able to distribute from the region that came directly to Branch County. Any questions on that last slide? So we do have our current and upcoming grant opportunities. The Grant Business Survival Grant closed on the 21st. The Employee Assistant Grant closes today. And then we have, the second round of payroll protection that has reopened, and then Michigan Stages Survival. All of these are up on our website. That's how we've been pushing them, along with sending out emails to all of our businesses in Branch County and taking phone calls where needed. The second round of the payroll protection is a little bit different. It's 300 employees or less. You can apply if you applied the first time, but there's a few different stipulations, but it's seems to be workable. You can go to your local bank, you can go to a local credit union, so long as it's been deemed on the list from the federal government. And not announced yet is this shuttered venue operations grant. As of December, we were at down to 4.7% unemployment. I don't know if you've seen the recent, but Michigan's like at 6.9%. So we're waiting to see what those next numbers are going to come in specifically for the county. The highest we had was in April, which was up to 22.9%. I will say that overall, from a county's perspective, on our manufacturing side, we fared fairly well. We had a lot of businesses, companies that were deemed essential, food processing, different pieces where maybe they weren't quote unquote essential, but they were providing a product to an essential service, and so they were able to stay open. It was a very confusing kind of really figuring out if everybody was doing what they needed to do from the state's mandates, but we were, and so we were able to keep on keeping on. Next, please. So really the big announcement as far as new projects in 2020 was the expansion of Speed Rack in Quincy. It's a great project. 130,000 square feet is what they were going to want to do. 80 new jobs, adding to their 250. MDOT was brought in to help with some road expansion that was needed for the project. Currently, end of 2020 into 2021, we have 4 other possible projects that are considering Coldwater for expansions. Again, it doesn't mean we have anything, we just have the possibility of that. So we're hopeful that they'll make decisions to expand here. In addition to that, we also have several requests for proposals that continue to go out. So there's continued interest in growth in companies locating in the Midwest, and we continue to submit any RFPs that we qualify for. This is the most updated top 10 employers list, and you can see Clemens is up from 800 up to 950, as is the DC, is up over 1,000. Asama's sitting right about where it normally sits, and ConAgra as well. Next, please. As always, we continue to work with our regional partners. I can't say enough about the MEDC, both from the manufacturing side and also the CAT team for downtowns, and Southwest Michigan First, as always, just really trying to get the information out to us and helping us with projects. It has not been a slow time. This was put on just to give an idea of the types of things that we do from the staff's perspective. We've included Tim Hart in this because this was presented to the city, but I also wanted to see for you all to see his economic development efforts in the downtown area. So Audrey is a full-time equivalent. I'm a part-time equivalent, and you can see to the right the different things that we work on. Go ahead and go down, Jeff. Thank you. Really, our long-term planning, particularly for the redevelopment ready communities that Audrey focuses highly on. That has to be done for us in order to play in the field with other communities in the state in order to get different types of funding and be eligible. That's a state program that all communities that want to participate in, really getting themselves in a position, not unlike what we've done for site development on the manufacturing side. And then also we're looking at Main Street, which has a lot of the similar things as the redevelopment ready communities. Again, I mentioned RFQs, RFPs. They are, we did 11 in 2020, and they continue to come in left and right. So I'm pretty pleased with that. It's noted here that we did 13 email blasts throughout the year, specifically to companies for trying to find help with COVID. So Tim Hart, he's an eighth of an FTE. He works about 20 hours a month, has a contract with the city. Both he and Audrey are just amazing to work with and are always really out shaking the bushes, and I wouldn't be able to do my job without them. They are always looking and thinking economic development, both in the downtowns and what might be out there for our other downtown communities, but also particularly Audrey on the manufacturing side. But then that goes through for our entire city staff partners. You know, we have a lot of people that wonder why Coldwater can be as aggressive and have all the different successes that we've had, and that really comes back to our partners with our entire team. You know, with Keith and Jeff and Dean Walrack, anytime I need a map, and Jeff shows off his map skills also whenever I need a map. And then, you know, anytime we need anything from assessing or for an OPRA or anything else, an IFT, Deb Sikorsky, and of course Ken Fickle on anything we need from the building side. So really everybody in City Hall just really steps up. So as far as Coldwater's downtown, for the project updates, you know, we do have 2 Bandits that's opening in spring of 2021. Purple Orchid is supposed to be opening in summer of 2021. The Corona Smoke Shop is still open. Craft Out Loud opened. Good, Better, and Best. And we have over $1.7 million in private investment from September 8 of 2018 to October of 2020. And then, of course, the $9.6 million that was invested into the lofts at Milnes Plaza. So we have a new project that's pending right now in downtown Coldwater, Project Southern Flats. As you can see here, this rendering of the old Gillespie Funeral Home. This has been talked about and announced on the news media and through the Planning Commission. But this is a potential 7-unit housing complex, complete renovation top to bottom of this building. Over $1 million investment to put it back into shape and bring in 7 units, both full interior and exterior. As I mentioned, all new windows, keeping the stained glass windows and replacing those. This is all subject to funding through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's rental rehab program. And we are hoping to have a letter of intent from them sometime in the spring. And if that all goes according to plan, then we would start construction in June and hopefully be able to put people in for housing by October. But again, that's all pending. And you can just see some of these downtown pipeline projects. We have a lot of interest, a lot of activity, and we're looking forward to what 2021 will bring, and the end of COVID, or at least the slowing of that, so that we can even really continue to hit the ground running. Any questions so far on that? I hope some of you attended Hops on Monroe. That was a City of Coldwater. Really, the council really wanted to bring something that was downtown that was maybe more youth oriented. I guess that includes me being youthful. And they were at full capacity. They did their social distancing per the governor's requirements. And it was very successful, and they're planning on doing that next year. And then our 2021 goals are, our county-wide goals really is to have at least one new housing project. I'm going to talk about housing a little bit more. We'd love to see those 4 manufacturing expansions that we talked about. Like to get a new recruitment, always good to try and continue to build our inventory of manufacturers. Redevelopment ready community progress. We're hoping to have our COVID fund fully awarded that is out there, that we've only spent $11,000 so far. And then working with the region on updating the regional SEDS, and I've been part of that, talking with them and talking about what our needs are in the city of Coldwater. And then to the right of that is also the downtown specific. One thing that's not downtown specific but does impact the rest of the community also is the US 12 corridor improvement plan that we're working on, that we'll be working on through the winter, and really a comprehensive plan of US 12 from the hospital down to Clay Street. We have not done any planning in that corridor except for the Four Corners Park project that hopefully is going to be bid out and done this spring, but we haven't done any comprehensive planning in that corridor since 1988. Okay. Any questions so far? Is that the end of that, Jeff?
Yes, that's all. It's
Okay.
over.
So, not yet.
Okay.
So, they did talk about the Paycheck Protection Program. One thing I wanted to talk about was housing. At tonight's council meeting, there is a proposal that's in the packet about a new housing complex, apartment complex at 600 West Chicago. One of the things I just really wanted to update this board on is really how the housing shortage is affecting our companies. Conversation after conversation of our company saying, that we, not only is it difficult to recruit people, but it's difficult when you do recruit people to get them housing. The existing apartment complexes that we have in town are at capacity. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 apartment complexes that are what you would call a market rate, which is just regular market rents, and they're all at capacity. And all of the rest of our apartment complexes are affordable housing, whether that's for seniors or just on the regular affordable housing platform. But our housing study that was done before we recruited Clemens indicated that a 7-year projected market potential was that we would need, we had a gap of 526 units. Again, before Clemens, before Schmidt's phone. So with that said, because Stock Trail came online, because of the 50 units at Milnes Loft downtown, and then also making sure that we counted any of housing projects throughout town, we still have a 214 unit gap from that housing study. Again, that does not include the 925 employees that came and 40 employees that came with Schmidt Foams in that report. We would have to pay for and do another housing study because they didn't count that in their assessment. So we know we need 214 based on the previous housing study, and we know that it's much higher than that given the amount of recruitment we had after that housing study was done. So it's not just Coldwater, it's the entire county, it's the entire region. It's something that needs to be addressed, and that is part of our economic development efforts moving forward so that we can meet the needs of our companies. Anything else at my end? Any questions for me on this part of it?
All right. Thank you, Lisa. I tried to scroll faster to see if you talk faster, but it didn't work. But anyway, very good update. Obviously, you and Audrey and everybody involved is doing a great job. And, this is a community effort. So, and whether it's in Coldwater or Brunson or Quincy, and, it always usually involves all of us, including the gas company, get together and make things happen. So great report. So
thank you.
With that, I think the next item on the agenda is community updates. Nick, you want to start?
Sure. We are plugging along as usual. The commission put a new rule in place for us, and we have to have 90% of all of our installs done on existing main within 15 days. So that's created a little bit of a challenge with us. It's not just that you can go out and hire employees, and that is certainly an option, but to hire those employees, and then what do you do with them when you're trying to shave those peaks and valleys? So we're working through that. That really hit home in, I think it was made effective for the end of July. So we really only had a few months to really get into that, but we're really monitoring that right now to make sure that we're able to keep that commitment to the Public Service Commission and to our customers. Other than that, AMI is we're about 98% done throughout the state of Michigan for AMI, which is the automated meter reading infrastructure. The only things that we'll have left will be our large transport type meters. Those will most likely not convert over to AMI until sometime third or fourth quarter of 2021. And that's just due to a programming issue for the way we have to collect the reads and bill for those customers. So, but we do expect everything to be fully operational for AMI somewhere towards the fourth quarter of 2021. So, other than that, we're very fortunate. We've been able to avoid any major issues within our Coldwater office for COVID, and we continue to monitor it throughout the entire organization. But we're very hybrid right now. If you want to work from the office, you certainly can. But if you want to work from home because you feel safer than that, then we're allowing that to happen as well. So that's what I have, Jeff.
Thank you, Nick. Good report. Is there any construction planned for the summer for you guys?
We have a couple projects, but they are up in between Teconcha, Marshall. Nothing major going on in the Coldwater, Hillsdale, Sturgis, Quincy areas.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brittany, you're next on my Brady Bunch here, so go ahead.
All righty. Well, obviously nothing too much. Speed Rack is, like Lisa said, working. They're not on expanding. Their project is not completed yet. There is a possibility that they might have to expand just a little bit more for some equipment. For our DDA last year, we paid out $21,000 in the facade program to our downtown, which is pretty big because we have not sent out a lot of funds in the last few years. So $21,000, they were very grateful for that. And the only other thing that I have is with the grants that the state of Michigan put out for the water and sewer. We're looking at applying for those with part of that $500 million. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But we're looking into it because if we can't do the state revolving fund payment, then we'll just have to skip it for right now. So as of right now, no construction for next year. Everything should go smoothly. Just finishing up some projects with our Church Street project in the spring, and that's it.
Thank you, Brittany. Bud, you want to go next, Norman?
Yes. Where do I stand amongst this Brady Bunch, Jeff?
You are lower than Alice. Oh, I meant lower left-hand corner. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think he's the dad. I think he's the Brady Bunch dad.
All right. So we've been focused on 3 projects toward the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. And the first one that we got wrapped up around the end of 2020 was the teen share. And a teen share can accommodate up to 8 teens who are rehabilitating, and we're trying to get them back on solid footing. But because of COVID, that was about 1 or 2 per building, so it was a very low number. But the basis of that project was that we severed our dependence on the prison for water and sewer. We hooked up to the water through CBPU, which runs right along State Street. And then we did a sewer system, which was a septic system. We're allowed to do that because it was such a great distance, over 300 feet, to hook up to the CBPU. But Parish did that for us, again, at the end of 2020. The other projects we're focused on is the jail. The jail is on schedule, continues on schedule to be completed at the end of September 2020. We're currently reviewing what we're going to do for projects following that are associated with the jail. For example, demolition of the current jail and possibly a construction of a shelter near the jail, but that's all fund dependent. We've been very fortunate that we got ahead because material cost increased, but we got good material cost, and we're very fortunate with the COVID environment that we've been able to negotiate that. We did have a couple of crews that came positive, and that spread enough in the crews that we did have to shut those down, but that did not affect our schedule. But currently we don't have any crews that we've had to put aside. Our other project is a communications project with 911, and we did get that contract approved before the end of the year. That was another contract that if we got that approved, we did save on materials costs because materials costs were going to rise going into 2021. So we're looking at moving forward with that in 2021. We haven't done the funding. We're looking at 3 funding sources currently. That's either USDA grant and loan, work locally or statewide or nationally with banks for bank loans, and then the other is to bond. We are currently in a 45-day waiting period. It's a requirement that we notify the residents of Branch County of that project. We currently have our courthouse closed with appointment. You're greeted at the door. That is the best way for our security, to get one person at a time, as opposed to having a group of people congregate at the front to get through security. That has been working for us. We have been doing a combination of people inside the courthouse and working remotely, but we are continuing to look at bringing people back into the building as the cases reduce and we see what the state is doing as far as opening up different facilities. That completes my report. I don't know what my name is in the Brady Bunch, but I'm done.
Thanks, Alice. I meant Bud. Hey, we've been kicking around, like, so are you thinking reopening when the Department of Health and Human Services changes after the 21st, or after that, do you think?
No, we really haven't given any thought to how we're going to reopen, any serious thought to it, to link it with that. What we've done is we've taken a look at, for example, we've had a couple of departments that we had some issues with. So we had 50% of the department working remotely and the other 50% inside the building. And we're looking at those departments to bring them back in, either at a totally or an amount somewhere between 50 and 100%. But we have not been discussing the question of opening up the courthouse, if that's what you're referring to.
Yep, that answered my question. Yeah. Keith and I have been kicking it around, and we just wondered what the county was doing.
Yeah, maybe we should. I should call you guys and have a conversation so we can kind of see what ideas are.
Yeah, I know we kicked around waiting, and we haven't got any vaccines here yet. So we kicked around, maybe do we wait till, our frontline people at least have gotten the vaccine? That was one thought. But yeah, that would be very helpful to do it as a coordinated effort.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing the kind of same thing. We do by appointments, very, very, very few, but we do let in a couple people, mostly contractors.
Yeah, I mean, we think that's the best thing for us to do, because if we open the doors, then we lose control, and we lose control of exposure, and it becomes more difficult. And we're having either positives or exposures on a weekly basis. And we're being proactive about the exposure. If somebody is exposed directly, not indirectly, not secondarily, but directly, then we quarantine them and hold them until we can determine whether or not they're positive. There's also some current concerns about these new variants and whether or not we're going to get them under control. So we're kind of taking a look at that, see how that works out.
Gotcha. Thank you, Bud. That leaves, I think it's you, Keith.
A couple updates on actual projects that are coming up this spring and summer. So the first of which will impact, I'm sure, just about anybody that does business in the city coming from elsewhere in the county, will be MDOT is repaving US 12. I would anticipate that the utility work is going to get started as soon as weather permits. I know with the BPU sewer manhole repairs, and then MDOT will come through and repave all of US 12 from just west of Western on the west side of the city to Michigan Avenue on the east side of the city. So that, I'm sure, will be a prolonged project through the course of the spring and summer. And for anyone traveling through the community will be impacted by that with lane closures and lane shifts and so forth. But US 12 obviously will remain open, but there will be delays, I would anticipate, once that's fully underway. The city has a couple projects out to bid, Sauk River Drive reconstruction, and the BPU is doing a water main project there. That was tied to an MDOT safety grant and economic development grant for the purposes of adding a center turn lane and some deceleration lanes and better intersection at Michigan Avenue and Sauk River Drive. And so hopefully we'll once complete, will make that that area that much more attractive for reuse since Penske has moved out of the truck terminal. But for Nick, if he goes in the office, that's going to be a little disruptive later this summer too. So, and we've got out to bid Four Corners Park. We're looking to do the northeast and the southeast corners next to the library / courthouse and next to the Putnam building with all the memorials. Assuming or anticipating or hoping that the bids come in well, then we can get started on that. And then lastly, on the local roads, carryover project from last year, the reconstruction of North Monroe Street. I would anticipate that shutting down. We may not meet again till quarterly, so it might start before our next meeting in March or April for the reconstruction of North Monroe Street from Grand to US 12, and also the repaving of Western Avenue from Grand to Bishop. That tends to be a heavily traveled or trafficked area with the schools, with Heritage Park as a western bypass to get around the city. And so that's heavily traveled and will also be hopefully under construction and completed before the next school year. So we'll try to do that one during the summer to avoid the majority of the school traffic. Otherwise, the city's in good financial condition, and we're also now one of the furthest south communities to be able to make snow. So we have a new calling card that in Coldwater you can make snow. So that has been a great. We'll promote our snow hill, which was a great event over the weekend, and thanks to the Kiwanis Club for their $20,000 donation and the city council contributing the remainder. That's all I have.
Thank you, Keith. Just to add one thing of construction, we have completed our Butters electrical substation. That should be up and operational here by the end of the month, maybe first part of February. We also have our Butters lift station. That's by the Los Tequilas restaurant. Everybody wants to know what that is. All that is that's a sanitary lift station. So that's going to be completed here within the next month. And then to let people know, we did move the prison, as Bud had mentioned. They have now hooked on to our water system. So as opposed to operating on their own wells, they already have their own force main. They will be eventually hooking into our new force main sanitary down the road, but right now they're still using their old existing force main, which is reaching the end of its useful life. And that's hence what started all the conversation about having to get the team share off the prison system, et cetera. So that's all I have. We do have one item of business. Lisa, turn it over to you again.
Yes, I'm just going to kind of make a little intro of what we're asking for. I'm going to let Audrey show you a few slides about what we're talking about. The city of Coldwater is going to be making an application to be a select community for the Michigan Main Street program. And part of that is for the community outside of the Downtown Development Authority to show commitment towards the Main Street program. So we're going to be asking for a $1,000 a year commitment from the Growth Alliance for 5 years. And Audrey's going to share her screen and explain why we're asking, and let you know that you were the first group that we're asking, and we do have a pledge from a second group, and we're going to be kicking that off now. So go ahead, Audrey.
Sure. So not to take for granted that everyone is as familiar with Main Street as I have become in the past 2 years. I just want to give an overview of the program, what it is, why we'd want to do it, and why it's all important. So it basically functions on a 4-point approach that is economic vitality, design, promotion, and organization. And it takes those 4 points and it really drives down into a great amount of detail, data tracking, design, and participation from the DDA board to achieve very specific measurable objectives within each of those. It's a really different approach to downtown development because instead of it activating just your director and your municipal government, it's really intended to activate the full board, the full DDA board, in addition to community stakeholders and just the broader public. So that's why it's a little bit different than traditional development. So examples of these four kind of points in action, color coded, are more attractive and user-friendly public spaces, really encouraging historic rehabilitation in particular. They really hold you accountable to the standards of interior rehabilitation, analyzing market forces and data that is specific to our region, and using that over time to have programs and events that are a response and a reflection of that data that we collect. So being able to prove what you're doing and why you're doing it, and being smart about what you choose to promote and incentivize. It's also about recruiting and maintaining a really strong volunteer base, not just to do physical work and for events, but also to create a pipeline of talent and interest in board service over time, and kind of keeping those people in your community and keeping them active and involved and giving them a role to play. As well as collaborating with stakeholders in the larger public on projects. If I could show you the list of downtown ideas that I have just collecting myself or other DDA board members or other organizations like the Historic District Commission, it's really robust, but we don't yet have great ways or I guess frameworks in place about how to activate people and empower them to tackle some of those projects on their own. So that's something that this helps to do. It's also really big on social media, retail events, and fundraising, of course. So I'm gonna go down to the next one. And the purpose of all of this, in choosing to sign on to all of the rigorous requirements for this program as it relates to that 4-point approach in DDA involvement and stakeholder engagement and all of that kind of work, to give you access to technical assistance. So they say, they understand it's a really big deal to go from a traditional board service to a board that is as active and engaged as your director. So they provide training to your board members, professional development opportunities. They assist you in conducting community outreach and surveys, and also with formulating annual reports. So you're doing an excellent job tracking and showing the value of that program over time, which is also important to them, so that they can make sure that the program is functioning well for the community to participate. And another example is access to grant funds. So very similarly to RRC, how if you choose to participate in that program and kind of check all the boxes that they'd like you to check, they reward you with additional grant programs to help you tackle projects downtown. So I just put a few examples here. The first two are direct assistance to businesses themselves in form of helping new businesses establish themselves. And then the third example is money to a Main Street organization itself to tackle one of its objectives. So one of our council members had asked when we presented to City Council about the benefit of the program, really being interested in this side of things and comparisons to similar communities. So I really like the example of the $200,000 facade grant that was given to Wayland, Michigan, which is a community of a population of 5,000 people, just to show you how much benefit there can be if you take it seriously and charge forward with it. So are there any questions yet on this? Okay, I'll keep going then. I just wanted to give you an example of the application process, just to show you how rigorous it is, as rigorous as the program itself, the amount of data collection that we are already underway with, like every single building and what each of its floors and each of its units is used for, and mapping that out in a color-coded fashion. All of contact information for downtown business and building owners and store hours of operation, competing retail districts, quantifying vacant space or underutilized space, and starting to quantify the volunteer-run programs that are already in effect and how many hours we leverage currently. And seasonal population swell, something else we'll have to track down. So some of this will be relevant to the county at large, particularly seasonal population swell. We're getting pretty creative in how to track that in a more formal way than has been done previously. There's also plenty of qualitative questions. And then another big component of the application process is community support. So they want to see letters of commitment for volunteerism, an intent to partner on projects, an intent to donate in-kind services, all sorts of things to show that people are interested in the downtown, that they have ideas, and they're willing to pitch in on the bigger goals. So this is kind of what we have accomplished to date in terms of the application, which is a communication plan with a really robust list of stakeholders and outreach methods and timelines, a 5-year budget that incorporates some very specific Main Street requirements, a fund development, a fundraising plan, both from financial contributions to, things like the mask sales and t-shirts that we got from Hops on Monroe to bring in revenue, and other items. And we've also had Main Street orientation and public meetings to start informing everyone else, not just our own DDA, about what Main Street is and what it takes. So for the support outreach that we've already done, we basically started this at the beginning of the year, so it's only been a few weeks in at this point. But we've gotten 12 letters of support from my outreach, Lisa's outreach, the DDA board as a whole, 6 of those with an intent to donate, 5 who are willing to partner on programs and promotions, 6 organizations or businesses who are willing to volunteer. And then we have received our first check from a small business who said, that's great, we're gonna donate right now. So we brought that in a couple weeks ago. And then I think Lisa mentioned that Southern Michigan Bank and Trust has pledged to donate $2,000 a year for 5 years to get us started. So, and the last line is just a reiteration of what Lisa started out with, is what we'd like to see from the Growth Alliance, if you'd like to consider that.
I just want to jump in real quick. So this is a completely different way the Main Street. I feel like I'm echoing. On the Main Street program back in 1986, when actually I was hired as the first DDA director 100 years ago. You had to be asked by the state to be a Main Street community. So we were not asked. There were 13 communities. We were not part of that original list. But we, as did all of the training, we went to the National Historic Main Street conventions, and we balanced the entire DDA path forward to the 4-point Main Street approach. That obviously in 30 plus years has gone in different directions, and they now have this program in place, which I think is great because you don't have to sit around as a community and wait to be asked. You can choose to move forward and see the benefits of that. The incentives that Audrey talked about to individual businesses and to the Main Street community, as far as documenting your investment and understanding really your assets. It's really important to have another tool in our toolbox, and the state is very aggressive in its help for its Main Street community. So it's nice that we're able to apply, unlike we weren't able to participate 35 years ago.
Okay, so the request is obviously $1,000 a year for 5 years. At this time, would anybody like to take a motion to support this endeavor?
I'll make a motion. Obviously, the city and the BPU are funders of the Growth Alliance, but I would anticipate if we approve this, that we'd want to make sure that we consider similar requests from, if there's a program that Quincy gets involved in, or if there's a program that Bronson identifies, that we would help support them as well.
Yeah, Keith, I think I would second your motion, but I think Keith and Jeff, you and the 3 of us can sit down, because I think there's opportunities for me as MGU to be able to help with that commitment that we're going to make.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I have a first from a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, go ahead. Roll call vote. Thank you, Nikki.
Yep. Member Norman,
Yes.
Member Butler,
Yes.
Member Kaminsky,
Yes.
Member Baker,
Yes.
and President Bud.
Yes. Okay, motion carried. With that concludes our business for the day. Lisa or Audrey, do you have anything else? If not,
All good.
there's a hand
You gotta make sure there's no public comment, Jeff.
Yep. Somebody's got their hand up. Pat? Is there anybody public comments, Pat? Any public comments, Pat? There's a phone with the last 3 digits of 909. Would you like to make a public comment?
This is Pat. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Hi, Pat.
Yeah, so since you didn't have any callers on the line, I called in using the meeting notice to confirm that this was all working. So that is my only comment, that the meeting notice that was sent out and the one that's displayed on the screen does work.
Okay, sounds good. With that, we'll just adjourn unless somebody has anything for the benefit of the group.
When would you like a next meeting, approximately?
How about we determine and we'll do about a quarterly, and we'll follow back up. If something comes up, we'll send out another doodle or time survey.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you
everybody, for
very
your time.
much.
See you, Nick. See you, Brittany. See you,
Thanks,
Bud.
guys.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.